Although there are no topics I dislike here, you may have noticed that in every video lesson I start by saying that it's either the most important, the most crucial, or my favorite topic. And indeed, there is nothing unimportant or trivial here. However, today is a truly special and significant topic. It is improvisation. What is improvisation? And most importantly, why do we need it? From childhood, we have limitations in our minds. With the voice of parents or teachers, prior to uttering a single word, we commence persuading ourselves internally. For instance, consider before you communicate. I do not have knowledge about you, but I have heard this expression 1,000 times from my parents and genuinely contemplated before speaking out, expressing my thoughts. I was thinking, what will they think of me? What if I say something stupid? It's better to keep quiet. Or you're just saying trivial things. So, this inner critic, with the voice of significant adults from our early years, imposes limitations on us, hindering our ability to fully realize and unleash our true potential. We require improvisation not only to excel with words, although that is also crucial. Improvisation is necessary not just to be the center of attention at social gatherings or to be the individual who refrains from expressing their thoughts. We require improvisation to utilize the potential of our speech, ensuring a free flow of speech without constraints or limitations. Something that each of us possesses from childhood. However, frequently, adults restrict their children due to their own fears. However, nobody is at fault for this. We have the ability to address this issue even during our adult years. So, how can you enhance and broaden your vocabulary? Improvisation is actually aimed at this objective because we all possess and utilize two distinct vocabularies, two different types of vocabulary. Engaging in reading books actually only helps in developing passive vocabulary and enhancing language comprehension skills. And it's huge. It's 150,000 words. But an important point, it is in some archived form. A significant number of individuals have virtually no access to this passive vocabulary, and it necessitates a substantial amount of time, energy, and resources to unpack words in the moment of speaking. It appears to be something like this. The person hesitated for a moment. When he wants to say something, his active vocabulary quickly ran out of words to use. He makes an effort to unpack unfamiliar words, but externally he resembles a computer that is frozen and unresponsive. And many people, due to nervousness, completely lose access to their vocabulary. Through improvisational exercises, it can be very effectively activated. Once again, passive vocabulary is essentially an inexhaustible source of words that we have previously assimilated through books as well as other sources of information. There is an active vocabulary that we utilize in our everyday communication. It is rather limited, consisting of 3,000 to 5,000 words. And here is our primary task. Not to accumulate this immense archive by reading books, but we need to develop the ability, roughly speaking, to quickly retrieve information from the passive vocabulary and transfer it to the active vocabulary, thereby enhancing our language proficiency and expanding our knowledge base. And this is done once again through the exercise that I will propose to you next. And as the main idea, friends, improvisation, when we talk about performances, is the speaker's safety net. If something goes wrong, you forget what to say, feel nervous, improvisation will always help you, and you will always be able to come out as the winner of the deadlock situation. Always find something to say. Improvisation helps in uncomfortable conversations, allowing one to quickly parry verbal attacks and think, wow, I did great. In general, let's finally start doing the exercise. You will feel how it activates your vocabulary. See you in the next video. So, the first exercise for boosting speech improvisation is a nonsense generator. And don't let the term nonsense generator scare you. I will now explain why this exercise has been given such a name. Our goal in this exercise is to disconnect as much as possible evaluative judgments, in other words, to shut down a significant part of our mind. In many ways, stop thinking about what you're saying, give yourself the freedom. This is an exercise. You don't have to carry any nonsense in life and treat it as a kind of game. Our task is to engage in free speech, where we can easily and freely talk about absolutely anything that comes to mind. However, this exercise does have rules. Let me tell you about them. First, choose any topic. For example, my vacation. People really enjoy discussing or reminiscing about their own vacations. Tell me about how your last vacation went. No limitations. Elaborate, invent, fantasize, speak the truth. Task, take a topic. Freely express thoughts within its framework. Next, we use a random word generator. I have attached a link for you here. There are many services like these. For example, this link here helps us choose a part of speech. In this case, we choose a noun and select one word. And we press the button to generate a word. Here the word regret came up for us. And we start a story on the topic of my vacation. Recently I went on vacation. It was an incredible experience. I had a fantastic rest. I stayed in a marvelous hotel, but regrettably I felt melancholy when it was time for me to depart. Creating a new word, assistance. I had to go back to the service, and I provided service. I am currently serving in the armed forces of the Russian Federation. And we all adhere to a specific scheme, otherwise we will not have any discipline in place. I had to deliver a presentation on techniques for improving relaxation, and during this particular event, and so forth. By the way, you see, words come to me in a stunning way. It's quite easy to insert them into this story. I hope you will also be lucky. Insert the words you received into your story and stay on topic. A cool exercise. Hold on for 2-3, preferably 5 minutes, and record yourself on video at the same time. Fantasize. Don't limit yourself. You'll feel the quick acceleration of your mind in just a few minutes, entering the necessary state of flow. Act. I believe in you. It's crucial. Coming up next, we have another exercise aimed at enhancing speech improvisation, rapid. This is an incredibly intense and highly effective exercise that is commonly used by professional stand-up comedians to boost their speech and enter a state of flow. What do you need for this? It's very simple. You have the ability to do it at any time, no matter where you are located. Your goal is to name all objects around you at maximum speed. Ideally, aim to reach a speed of 200 words per minute. Start naming everything you see. Mouse, comb, camera, phone, laptop, vacuum cleaner, chair, wardrobe, wall, ceiling, curtain. And keep naming. Keep naming at maximum speed, 1 minute. Time yourself for 60 seconds. Your objective here is, on the one hand, yes, speed, that release of speech flow, and on the other hand, we must achieve this state of stupor. If the minute is up and you're still firing off words like a machine gun, which happens rarely, your goal is to reach a state of stupor. You will experience that unique moment in our psyche when you see, let's say, an object like a pen, you look at it, and inside you know it's a pen. You're aware it's a pen, but the word just doesn't come to you. It is precisely at this moment that the process of strengthening and connection with passive vocabulary takes place. You have to overcome this stupor. You have to name this object, literally name 1 to 2 more objects, and then come to a stop. It is precisely this state of stupor that, when you break through it and make an effort and take 2-3 steps, is the moment when the connection with passive vocabulary is strengthened. You are gradually building up the speed of retrieving information from your passive vocabulary over time. Believe me, this exercise truly enhances your flow, your psyche, so make sure to give it a try. Friends, I remind you, we still have element number 2, content, and we are improving speech improvisation. And today, another very interesting exercise is focusing on goals. This is already a truly advanced technique. Have you ever encountered reps of network companies? Well, they are also known as networkers. People who distribute products and services through network marketing and MLM. What does their speech look like, especially beginners in MLM? I adore these people. They are very energetic, active, with a truly active life position. And when they talk about something, they have engaged in communication with you. And what is always the end of their speech? What do they always conclude with? Of course, some sort of sale. Yes, on the one hand I agree, occasionally a bit pushy, occasionally extremely pushy. Often this is not always eco-friendly. For instance, at my live sessions in Moscow, I sometimes encounter such guys, and their speech often begins with the most abstract subjects. Alexei, how are you? How is the training? And at the end, they always transition, we will soon have a conference in our company. Here is an invitation for you. I have a sample with me. The tea there is very tasty, natural, and healing. Well, in general, they always end up attempting to sell something. There are, of course, certain specifics to this, but they have a complete focus on the goal. We can learn from them. They know exactly how their speech should end. Of course, it's important to be ethical, ecological in speech, but at the same time, a clear understanding of where I am leading my speech, where I am leading my thought, helps make it structured and purposeful. The majority of individuals who lack comprehension and visual perception of this point B continue to move indistinctly alongside the tree. Here I schematically depicted for you, here is the lower version, how a typical speech looks like. Who doesn't understand their point B? Speech is unconscious. He starts from point A and says, now I will tell you about this, then also about this, by the way, we need to remember about this, then I'll add this, for example, I'll tell jokes here, by the way, what was I talking about? So there is a dispersion happening. We drift into one thought, then into another. Here are the details. Here are some examples. And there are multiple points of focus for the listener. The attention has already diminished, and you are only halfway there, and you yourself have lost track of why I am saying all this. At times it appears as if 10 individuals are attempting to squeeze through a solitary door simultaneously, and every person becomes trapped. The same thing happens somewhere in the middle of such a speech, when there is a freeze. You want to deliver all the information at once. The capability to initially establish the ultimate point B for yourself, for which I will express this. And subsequently, all of these thoughts start to align in a sequence, in a direct line. Gradually, you start to uncover them. This is something we can practice with you in an exercise called Focus on the Goal, which I'll inform you about now. We immediately focus on the finale of our performance. By the way, this is how many professional speakers prepare. If they have very little time to prepare, they first mentally go through the finale of their performance. What they end with gives confidence, awareness in speech, and all thoughts, all spontaneous ideas that arise in them, he starts working for you. They begin to line up in a kind of chain to achieve the goal. Without a goal, it's a chaotic wandering of thoughts. If you have a goal, you focus all your energy and attention on point B. What do I want to conclude the thought with? Let's try to do the exercise. By the way, our random word generator will also help us here. We mark point B. Objective. Healthy lifestyle. In this case, a healthy lifestyle would be suitable. Regardless of your feelings, I suggest practicing promoting this topic while programming ourselves with a positive mindset. We take a spontaneous word, for example, brick. And as representatives of network companies, we need to start with an abstract topic and transition to selling our main idea. In this case, a healthy lifestyle. And let's begin. Let me give an example with a brick. Brick. A brick is a very important building element. A lot of individuals construct the foundation of their dwelling, walls made of bricks. And it is determined by the strength of the foundation of your house, how durable this dwelling will be, how extended it will last, and so on and so forth. The foundation of anyone's life is their health, so it is crucial to lay a strong and sturdy foundation. Adopt a healthy lifestyle. Well, it turned out like that, spontaneously, but the main theme is revealed. I'm sure you understand how to do the exercise. Let's take the next word. Pump. Through it, we shift to a healthy lifestyle. Director, properties, smoke, cue, random words I made. You can take them or generate words yourself, but you'll see an amazing moment when you take unrelated things like a pine cone and a healthy lifestyle. There's a director, but you can always find that connection. You tune your mind to work according to a specific scheme. And then in a real context for you, when you don't have a spontaneous topic of a healthy lifestyle and a director, but a topic close to you, connecting them will be much simpler. Essentially, you are training your mind, disciplining it to work for you, and getting accustomed to thinking through the category of goals, always speaking only to achieve some goal. And by the way, don't engage in empty conversations that have no purpose at all. Do this exercise, feel how your mind starts working for you, not leading you astray, and share your feedback. See you in the next video. If the previous exercises appeared simple to you, then today I have something more serious in store for you. Abstraction and commentary. The first exercise is very suitable for those who need to present their ideas, services, products, or complex technological processes to people who are not familiar with them. Often you spend many years on this topic and it seems to you that everything is already clear and obvious. But to people it seems like you are speaking in a foreign language. Remember, as Einstein said, if you can't explain your idea to a 5-year-old child, then your ideas are in danger. Imagine you have a 5-year-old child in front of you, and you have 30 seconds to explain abstract phenomena to them. For example, harmony. What is harmony? A 5-year-old child doesn't have a set of specific knowledge or terms. He's just started to feel, to comprehend this world. He has a totally primitive set of ideas about this world. And you need to practically explain on your fingers what charity, ego, madness, elegance, sanity, and enthusiasm are. Act, I believe in you. But that's not all. I have exercises for you, with which professional journalists, reporters, hone their ability to speak easily and freely. For example, when they don't have time to prepare a story, they find themselves in a hotspot they need to start broadcasting right here, right now. They periodically accelerate and practice through such a simple exercise. It's called commenting on what's happening. At this moment, switch on your phone, commence recording a video or simply utilize a voice recorder, move towards the window, and initiate reporting live from the scene. Comment on everything that is happening outside your window for 3 minutes. Right now I see a car driving. Undoubtedly the family is going on vacation. Judging by the skis on their roof, it seems like they are most likely planning to go skiing on the slopes. Today is a wonderful weather for skiing. If you have children, make sure to take a tubing. Well, I mean, feel that it's very simple here. Observing all the processes, phenomena, events around you, to comment and speculate on what might happen next. In general, I will not restrict you with any instructions in this exercise. Just attempt, accelerate your speech, and it will rapidly enhance your improvisation skills. Take action. I am certain you experienced the impact of the speech improvisation exercises. I am certain you attempted them and genuinely enjoyed them. By the way, I just used the technique of forming my own attitude. Recall, we discussed it in the prior video. But today, we will practice figurativeness in speech. We will elevate your speech to a completely new level. And I will show you why purely logical speech is not always effective, and how to enhance the impact and influence on listeners, on any person, by adding imagery to your speech. You've probably often heard from maybe teachers, from some acquaintances, that figurative speech is always appealing. Why? Our content, that is the content of our speech, what we are talking about globally, if simplified, can be divided into two aspects. Logic and imagery, what pertains to the logical substantive part of our speech. These are specific facts, arguments. This is what we mainly discussed when you were preparing the structure of your presentation. These are numbers, research, interesting facts, some properties, functions, and so on. I hope it's clear what logic is. It's the structure itself, precisely the logical part of your speech, any cause and effect relationship. These are all elements of logic. Now we need to consider what is the opposite of logic and how we can enhance and reinforce the strength of logic. You know, BTW, our brain is divided into two hemispheres. Many people know the left hemisphere is logical. Many scientists are called left-brainers and think systematically, structurally, logically. The right hemisphere is responsible for creativity, emotions, images, and pics. And I am convinced that our thought process is primarily based on figures and images. The language of our consciousness possesses the inherent capability to communicate through images. Now I will demonstrate it to you. Apple, inform me, what is the first thing that came to your mind at this moment? Were you thinking of the word apple, or did you have a mental image in your mind that represented the concept of an apple? You had a picture in your mind 100%. In response to my word apple, you internally reacted and this image was born in your mind. Some visualize a red apple, others a green apple, some the Apple logo, and so on and so forth. In this specific instance, you translated the word into a particular internal image in your mind. And in fact, this is how we communicate. We decode info. Verbal words are simply a code, a cipher, encoded images. We will decode them into images understandable to us and then encode the words back. But we won't complicate the speech, we'll just try to add these very images to our speech. What do we need for this? And we already have everything for this. We have 5 channels of perception. Visual, auditory, kinesthetic, in general, smell, and taste. 5 channels. How do we perceive reality? Through 5 channels of perception. And it is exactly these 5 channels that we will need to enhance and enrich our speech with. Visually, we can draw pictures. Imagine, and we draw, right? Visualize yourself strolling along the embankment, a vibrant crimson sunset. And immediately in our sight, this picture appears. Further, the seagull's noise, cries, surf's noise, water's sound. In a specific spot, the sound of chanson music can be heard emanating from the restaurant establishment. You can detect the aroma of grilled meat in a certain location along the embankment in the Krasnodar region. And so on. Synesthetic. Your feet bury themselves in the sand. The warm evening sea washes over you. The smell is already there, right? Taste. And you can drink, feel the taste. Well, what kind? Someone might have a refreshing drink in the evening, feel some bubbles. Well, and so on. Currently, off the top of my head, I've created images for you that evoke a strong internal response in you. This is the meaning of images. When we create a painting, visualize, hear, experience, perceive, attempt. Certainly the main focus is to avoid overdoing it. We don't need to use all 5 channels. Moderation is key. However, we can still enhance logical elements. Let me provide another example. We can describe our own vacation. You had one of the exercises where you freely spoke, telling about your own vacation. Only with logic can we describe our vacation. Remembering just logic. Returned from vacation 3 days ago, rested for 14 days. I traveled there on a Boeing 747 aircraft. They provided me with meals twice during my stay. The temperature of the water was 24 degrees. The hotel had a rating of 5 stars. I spent a total of $2,000 on my own vacation at that location. It's like a report, like some kind of presentation, but at least everything is clear. But if we add images there, we'll say, when I walked out of the airport, the doors swung open, and this humid tropical air just enveloped me. This smell. When I arrived at the hotel, classical live music, imagine, in the restaurant's lobby. These marble floors polished to a shine. I entered a restaurant, caught a whiff of seafood, lobster. On the balcony of my room, there were live flowers growing. Every time I opened the door, I would inhale the incredible sweet scent of unknown flowers. But overall, I am confident that you have seen that the difference lies only in the logical description and the enhanced imagery. It truly exists, and it makes sense to add images to your speech. And as a certain conclusion, I just want to show you this certain comparison image as well. If your speech is solely filled with logical elements, there is nothing wrong with that. People will understand you. And the majority of individuals operate exclusively with logical components in their speech. Particularly remarkable are those individuals who permit themselves to enhance their story, their narrative with pictures, images. It's like diving in, like 5D cinemas, where the seat shakes, the wind blows on you, and it's a complete immersion. Use imagery in your speech, immerse people in your map of reality as much as possible, and share your own experiences. Because when you provide just logic, you are literally using only a few % of your speech potential. But when you talk about your feelings, emotions, sensations, you infect people in a good sense of the word. They also start to experience these feelings. And the primary objective of any interaction, any communication, is to attempt this experience to sample how you perceive this world. Remember, we discussed how every individual has their own map of reality, and in this situation, when we show images, we are disclosing our own map of reality to another individual. And he observes her, and that is the most intriguing part. That is precisely why communication is required. Sharing your vision, emotions. I'm sure I've inspired you with this technique, so make sure to think about where you can incorporate imagery in your speech. Apply it. Goodbye, everyone. And of course, I can't leave you without practice, without working on the info that I shared with you in the previous vid. I propose a simple yet clear exercise. Reflect on your vacation once more, or you can select any topic. Please share a significant life event and describe how it was perceived using the 5 channels of perception. Visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory. What do we have there? Taste, correct? So try your best to describe as many images as possible using these senses. But at the same time, it's a 50-50 balance between logical elements and image elements. But here, you can go beyond. The focus is to develop the skill of coloring your logical structure with pictures and images. At the same time, be mindful of gesticulation. Make an effort to enhance the topic you will be discussing by incorporating descriptive gestures into your presentation. Add some vivid images. And make sure to record a video that is at least 3 minutes long. And most importantly, try to do it in one take. Give yourself the right to make mistakes. How to work with the camera, conduct live broadcasts, like yourself on screen, discuss, have a separate module on this topic as training, practice, add images, believe in you. And once again, I welcome you, Alexei Sobolev here. You already know how to improvise, you are already adding imagery to your speech, and now it's time to bring it all together and learn how to tell engaging, vivid, and interesting stories. Storytelling at its pinnacle, the utmost potent instrument wielded by a skilled orator. And indeed, he emotionally connects us to the listeners, connecting us 100%. The most intriguing aspect is that storytelling, your personal story, flies under the radar, not perceived as a typical sales pitch. So all resistance fades away. There is a fascinating study that says when we listen to a story, a certain hormone, oxytocin, is produced in us. In general, in other words, your stories simply become more appealing, your speech, your performances, because this hormone is produced specifically when we engage in sexual activity and when we embrace another person in proximity to us. I am confident that I have sold you on the idea of using storytelling, learning this skill, and let's try to figure out what storytelling really is, and I will succinctly try to convey the main idea to you. There are three types, the most popular three types of storytelling. The first type is, of course, motivating stories, motivating by personal example. This account is relevant for individuals who are presenting a newly developed product, a fresh project for the first time. And stories from Silicon Valley, so-called Silicon Valley stories, will be very suitable. When you tell a story of a person who changed people's lives with their invention, who brought about a revolution in this field, naturally, Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, and other similar figures come to mind. Hear these stories. The main thing is that they are not banal. If you find a story with some little known element in their biography, it will be very well received. The second type of story is motivating stories. It is the most popular, your personal story. When you do not tell the story of a famous person, but your own stories of overcoming. How did you, deal with depression, recover after divorce, quit smoking, lose weight, and so on? What each and every one of us encounters. Those complex life situations that are often perceived as something blocking, mega stressful, and overwhelming for many individuals. Whether you have easily, maybe not so easily, or with difficulty overcome these events, you can talk about it, and it always works great. And the third option, we even did exercises specifically on this type of story when we described abstract things, as if for a 5-year-old child, precisely to tell stories simply about complex things. If you are presenting complex processes, products, or ideas that are difficult to understand, storytelling is an incredible and effective technique to make complex things simple and easy to comprehend. I prepared an interesting example. Complicated. To turn off the appliance, log into your account on your smartphone or tablet, then send a command to the base. The base will send a signal to the chip, ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. It's mind-blowing after 2 sentences. How can we convey this complexly described process? Through storytelling. Imagine that you have a smart home. When you come home from work, it boils tea, prepares dinner from ingredients placed in the multi-cooker. Certainly, there are no smoke signals, but to make decisions and such, and so on and so forth. Thus, by means of a brief narrative in 2 sentences, you have depicted the entire process, the fundamental essence of your message, your viewpoint, and your concept. Next, I will tell you about one of the scripts, step-by-step algorithms of storytelling. But now, as a sort of task, I suggest recalling a story from personal experience. A story of overcoming that you could use to motivate others and make it a part of your presentation. Go ahead. So friends, Alexei Sobolev is back in touch, and this time I have prepared something truly amazing for you. I have prepared a step-by-step script for you to prepare your story. But the most interesting part is that it will not just be a story, it will be a compelling story. This is the most challenging yet effective format when you integrate a pitch into storytelling, selling yourself, your ideas. Well, there is no point in hiding it. We are indeed always selling. We sell ourselves, our ideas, our lifestyle, our thoughts. So here, of course, no need to be afraid, no need to retreat. No, I don't want to sell anything. But how do you communicate your story, your authentic, non-fictional story, and make it truly inspire and motivate people to take meaningful action? Sales, once more broadly defined, doesn't imply selling a specific item, not always a service. Vital distinction. Even an instructor delivering a lecture has the ability to narrate a story in which they promote the concept of this knowledge to effectively involve students further, explore the subject more profoundly, and genuinely motivate and inspire them with this knowledge. The utilization of these tools is incredibly vast, which I will presently share with you in detail. Well, let's take a specific example. I'll tell my own story. I divided the preparation and execution of this whole story into several stages. The initial step is preparing the story. Here are a few guiding questions. What negative situation do you want to build your story on? What were you feeling then? In a story, it's crucial to discuss your feelings. What challenges did you face and which negative emotion overall hindered you? I began my stories in 2012 when I was employed as a typical junior lawyer. Yes, I was the lead lawyer of the largest insurance company. I was totally lacking in confidence, very introverted, extremely shy. It was even very difficult for me to introduce myself to a girl in the neighboring department. There was a girl in the accounting department whom I liked, and I passed by her for about a year, each time thinking, now I will approach her, now I will definitely introduce myself to her. And in the end, she quit. Not because I walked past her all the time, but simply, apparently she decided to find another job within a year. Despite daily attempts, I have never succeeded in doing this. The second part of the situation is when things deteriorate, everything gets worse. The guiding questions here are what happened subsequently, what made you change your mind, what you had to do in response to this bad situation, and so on. In my story, it looked like this. I truly began to realize that year after year was passing by and practically nothing was changing. The only thing is, I managed to get a raise for myself. From 30,000 rubles per month, I started earning 35,000 rubles per month. I observed my boss, who had been employed at that company for 17 years. Throughout those years, he was earning a salary of 60 or 80,000 rubles at that workplace. He considered it a great achievement to become the department director in 17 years. For me, of course, it was demotivating. I realized that I needed to change something. It was becoming unbearable to deal with all the paperwork and see how people around me were burning out, especially when young lawyers, guys, would come and after 3-4 months of total legal hell, they would either burn out and leave the profession or resign. I made a very interesting discovery for myself. A friend told me that guys of my age in Moscow have opened a small training center where they conduct personal growth workshops, and something clicked in my mind. Is it not possible for me to do it the way they did? How could they achieve this incredible feat at my age? For me, it was simply incredible to open a training center, engage in self-development, work with other people, and help them. This is just an incredibly cool thing, I thought. For me, it was probably the most important objective to achieve. To become a coach, a personal growth coach, a public speaking coach. Imagine a shy, insecure guy setting a goal to teach others confidence. For me, it was simply the summit of Olympus, but it inspired me so much that I decided to take action. I resigned from my position, I informed my department director that it's over, goodbye, I'm leaving now. In advance, of course, I called these guys and said, I want to be with you, I am ready to do absolutely any work practically for food, I just want to be with you. And they said, okay, come, you'll help us, you'll be an admin assistant doing all the rough work. I quit, the director was shocked, everyone in the department asked why. Where are you going? They were puzzled, no one understood me, and I got a job as an administrator at a training center. I actually cleaned the floors, I worked there for 12-14 hours, but I was genuinely happy. After 6 months, I got a job under the master as a coach and started substituting for him in classes. A year later, I started conducting my own trainings, and I made a colossal discovery for myself. 4th stage transformation. I'll tell the whole story, then we'll go through the structure again. I made an amazing discovery that confidence is a skill, charisma is a skill, the ability to speak, persuade, influence is a skill, that everything can be learned. In the past, I believed that I was born like this, closed off, unsociable, and thought that I would remain that way for the entirety of my life. But here is where I changed gears, and I came to the realization that everything can be acquired through learning. Being mindful, being influential, developing personal power, these are all incredible and invaluable skills to possess. 2 years later, I started my own public speaking school, a business communication school with an office in Moscow. Then we relocated to a spacious office space where we had a few more rooms available for our use. And since 2017, officially as the head of my own public speaking school in Moscow, I have already graduated over 5,000 students. That's why I created my own system in which I help people quickly gain confidence and liberate themselves. So, that's how my story turned out. Let's now try to go through it together step by step. Story preparation. I started from scratch, surrounded by a negative situation. There was total lack of confidence, a desire to change it all, a desire to break free from that cycle. The situation was simply getting more and more worse. I witnessed people burning out. I observed how my boss was increasingly and gradually filling the chair. This wildly demotivated me, and then a discovery happened. I realized that I can do it too. I had a dream. I was inspired by her, and my transformation began. I quit my job and started from scratch to study the profession of a coach, obtained a business coach education, made several discoveries that, as it turns out, everything can be learned, and dreamed of teaching others the same. And then there is this transition to the conclusion, the outcome, the conclusion. That's why now I am where I have long dreamed of being. I am doing what I love, helping other people unleash themselves, believe in themselves, improve their speech, and boost their self-confidence. That's why you can even make a call to action here. Join my courses, come to the School of Oratory Mastery, develop these skills within yourself. I tried to make it easier and clearer for you by scripting this algorithm. You can download it below via the PDF link with detailed instructions to make it easier for you to use storytelling tools. I am certain you enjoyed how effortless it turns out to be to narrate a story and incorporate some crucial ideas for sales. I am certain you possess incredible stories that are worth sharing with the world. Take action now. So friends, Alexei Sobolev is back in touch, and this time I have prepared something truly amazing for you. I have prepared a step-by-step script for you to prepare your story. But the most interesting part is that it will not just be a story, it will be a... Hello, Alexei Sobolev here. Today we will discuss how to persuade, how to influence, and we will talk about it not from the perspective of manipulation, but rather how to easily, freely, and naturally exert real influence on other individuals. Let's attempt to shift away from negative examples. Frequently, individuals believe that they exert influence through the use of threats. Don't do that. Why? When you try to threaten, what is called manipulation by force, even if you make an ultimatum, tactically, yes, you may win. The person may agree with you here and now, but it's unlikely that long-term trusting relationships can be built on threats. No, it's unlikely that later he'll want to communicate with you and be willing to do anything. Well, if you as leaders burn out subordinates with threats, they'll quickly stop following or quit. This is ineffective in the long run. The ability to persuade, influence, motivate, inspire, this is truly the ability to build long-term trusting relationships that work for you. So if you think threats work, friends, no, they don't work. They work against you. The illusion is that you appear to have won here now, but in reality, you have actually lost the game. Opposite. How not to persuade if you are not threatening, you are begging. Come on, please do it for me, you are my dear sweetie. Well, let's be honest. How do you feel about someone who pleads with you? They diminish their own dignity because they ultimately lose your respect. If you beg, persuade, coax, plead, or crawl on your knees to someone, it is evident that this approach also does not lead to the development of long-term, strong relationships. And in order to motivate and inspire using such a method, of course, there is no need to discuss it. Now attention, let's discuss how we can genuinely influence. But first, let's talk about how we communicate with one another. Various forms of communication. We will comprehensively cover all types of interactions that occur between individuals. Prepare and record with me, let's go. 3 kinds. The initial. The first type of comm is a request. And here is an insight for many people. Friends, what is a request? Write it down, reread it, and remember forever what a request is and its structure. I humbly request your investment of resources, time, attention, and money in me, and in exchange I must express my sincere regret that I am currently unable to provide you with any form of compensation or recompense for your kind support and generosity. I sketched a person here who is inquiring below, because if I inquire without expecting resources to be expended on me. This is the actual structure of a request. Now, attention, a question. How does the person I am asking have the right to react? Is he able to agree to our request? Certainly, he is capable of refusing. Yes, he possesses the right. He is able to do it, but he will do it later, of course. He is capable of doing it poorly, messing up. He is capable of doing it in his own way. He is capable of coming up with a counteroffer and many other options. However, here, it is important to note that manipulation becomes a factor. When I inquire, I am adamant about only accepting the possibility of reaching an agreement. I do not give a person the right to react as they want. In my mind, they should agree with me. And if he did not agree and selected what was right for him, he possesses the right to choose from any available response options, at which point I begin to feel offended. How could you? You were supposed to do it. And a person starts feeling guilty, and from that guilt, they start doing something. This is a toxic, unproductive, manipulative scheme. If we inquire with an individual and do not acknowledge their autonomy to decline, consent, or select from a multitude of alternative possibilities, then we are subconsciously exerting influence over others. Reflect on the most recent occasion when you were unconsciously manipulated in this manner and also manipulated in the same manner. The second type is the total opposite of a request. You see, when I am in control, I make demands. Demands can only be made in 3 specific cases. This is coercion to perform. When you have methods of coercion to perform, for example, a contract. If you have signed a written, not oral, written contract with someone, you have the right to demand exactly as much as you have specified in this contract. Labor relations, employment contract, employee-employer. If you finish at 6 in the evening and are planning to go home peacefully, the manager comes running and demands that you finish some tasks there and so on and so forth. You're like, okay, Oleg Ivanovich, I understand that this is actually your request, not a demand. Oleg Ivanovich disguised his request as a demand. And insecure individuals think, oh, he is demanding, well, we must do it. After all, he is the boss. And they allocate their resources, time, and attention to what they had the prerogative to decline. What to do? In this case, I would say, Oleg Ivanovich, I understand your request, but let's do this. I will stay for another hour and do part of the work. Let's agree that tomorrow at the board meeting you will put in a good word for me. Or let me come for lunch tomorrow and just get some rest in the end. What I asked for, it's not a demand. But I saw that it's a request, I told him it's a request, and turned it into a reciprocal offer. In my opinion, this is extremely effective. So when there is a contract, we can demand. When there is a law, we can demand. So, if your neighbor plays rock and roll music loudly at night, you can ask him to turn it off, because if needed, you will call the police. You possess various tools for coercion, tools for enforcing compliance, as well as tools for creating dependency. As an illustration, children depend on their parents. Good, experienced, correct parents, in my opinion, do not ask their children for anything. They demand. So what does that mean? Let's put it this way. I don't want everyone to think Alexei is a parent who demands it all. No, but the task, especially if teenagers and children, is to teach teenagers to follow the norms of behavior. This is their evolutionary task, their personalities. If you ask a child, you demonstrate to them that you are inferior to them. And then the child will sit on your neck and simply will not respect you at all and will not value anything. But when you gently tell them, today you wash the dishes, let's agree that on Tuesdays, my dear beloved, you wash the dishes. He will say no. You say, okay, no internet, stay at home for 3 days. Of course, he will say you're a bad parent, you don't love me, but deep down he will respect you. You simply set boundaries, establish frameworks, and you need to have an inner core to demand. Yes, you must have a means of coercion. Roughly, firmly, colleagues, that is how it works. So right now we are covering all areas of interaction. Yes, we have slightly gone beyond the scope of oratory art because that is also a very important point. So the most unfavorable situation is when you demand but you have no tools available for coercion. You demand, but you did not have a written contract, you have no legal grounds and no dependency. Then what do you require from this particular person? 90% of divorces worldwide happen precisely because a simple request is turned into an unreasonable demand that cannot be met. Unlawful demands. That's the sad statistic. What to do? The third type of approach is an offer. When we communicate on an equal footing, you offer in a very tasteful and appealing manner. A person has the option to agree, refuse, or make a counter-demand in response to you. So when you address someone, friends, honestly, I must confess I have to admit it is a request. If this is a request, are you ready for the person to refuse? Are you ready for them to do it poorly or in their own way? If you are not prepared, you will definitely end up manipulating and nothing good will come of it. If you demand, ask yourself, can I force him to do this? Is there a contract? Is there a law? Does it depend on me? No? Then there's no need to demand because it just makes your position look pathetic. Suggestion. The most effective method of interaction, the most effective way of communication through which you can interact with a person in a mutually beneficial position. This doesn't imply you to me to you, though fundamentally it is. But when you care about someone, you grasp their investing time, attention, resources, and you value that. If someone approaches you with an offer, Consider whether it is beneficial to you. Very often there are offers that are not advantageous. This is manipulation. If you're pressured to decide quickly here and now, it's likely manipulation and not in your best interest. Of course, you have the right to refuse. If someone demands something from you, you immediately go, stop. Who and what was I supposed to do, right? When we were signing the contract at that time, are there legal grounds for these requirements and is there a dependency? If not, I'm sorry, goodbye. Why are you presenting such unfavorable conditions to me? Friends, I tried to show you these addresses succinctly to demonstrate how to interact with people effectively. For many, I'm sure there were discoveries here. Some found it harsh, while others found it to be the most effective. But this is the psychology of interaction. If you start using this in your everyday life, manipulations, unnecessary manipulations of guilt and offense will disappear from there, and you will become much more comfortable interacting with each other. Act. Apply this knowledge. Hello once more, Alexei Sobolev at your service, and now we are going to delve into a particular algorithm on how to exert influence and persuasion. Prior to this, we talked about the overall system of addressing. You witnessed how not to manipulate. Presently, we will attempt to skillfully present our proposal, the initial straightforward guideline. When you want to persuade someone, state your thesis right away. If it's a simple everyday conversation, try to avoid using you. You must. You are obliged to. You definitely need to. No one needs. A person will defend themselves. Any phrase starting with you, but not ending with wonderful, is seen as personal aggression. Simply because any advice, any opinion, any evaluation, any judgment that I was requested to provide is considered a violation of personal boundaries. So be careful. Don't provoke defensiveness. For example, if you want to persuade someone to live outside the city, voice this through the I position. I believe life in the countryside is the optimal choice. In my view, life in the countryside is truly amazing. I have a strong belief that living in the countryside is the coolest option. You see, I'm not imposing anything on others, I'm just sharing my own personal opinion. You can even remove the word I, just say convinced that life in the countryside is cool. So you imply, as our president says, by the way, implying I. What else can we add here? We can voice the opinions of third parties. There is an opinion that life in the countryside is better, but you'll agree, it doesn't sound very convincing, but there are different contexts when you don't need to broadcast your opinion at all. It functions effectively when we do it via question, but what is the reason for country life being so cool? Why do millions of people choose life outside the city? And we trigger the mechanism of searching for an answer, and the person really starts thinking about it. Once again, a thesis, a clear, concise, understandable idea of what you want to persuade a person. It's worse to assume it's already clear to them. No, it's unclear. Speak clearly and succinctly. Next, let's draw 3 more bricks with the letter A and add the numbers A1, A2, A3. Of course, these are our arguments. Why 3? We've talked a lot about this. The rule of 3. It is perceived better and works more effectively. Initially, subsequently, finally. In this case, we are utilizing a list. We express verbally the first, second, third. Either firstly, secondly, thirdly, or enumerate the first point, second point, third point. We point with our fingers. This is a case when it's acceptable to do so. We can bend the first, second, third, show them. Use this reinforcement. It's called anchoring. It works very well. Also, between arguments, make small pauses and emphasize with accents. I am certain that living in the countryside is enjoyable. To start with, there is an abundance of fresh air. Secondly, your very own space. And thirdly, and most importantly, you have the opportunity to grow your own vegetables there in that designated space. So, like, insert powerful arguments through a pause, through emphasis to make a strong impact. And the most important point is that the arguments should be concise. There's no need to beat around the bush. An argument is literally 2 to 3 words. Fresh air, personal space, the opportunity to grow vegetables. Yes, just 2-3 words where it's immediately clear. Then you can elaborate on each point in more detail, but this upper section, the thesis, the first, second, third, should be concise. This is for a blitz. Persuasion works very well. Clear, concise, understandable structure. In the present-day world that is saturated with information, possessing this skill is of paramount importance. In a concise, clear, and specific manner, convey your thought. And how do we conclude again? This is once again a thesis. Why this thesis again? We already mentioned it at the beginning. We are summarizing and creating this logical loop here. And that's why I believe that life in the countryside is better. Thesis at the beginning, 3 arguments, thesis at the end. A simple, concise, and very understandable structure. By using this, you can record short videos starting with a question, discussing 3 key points, and making a final thesis. Finally, if you like, you can add a call to action. A simple, clear scheme that I recommend you apply directly to your thinking. And next time, if you need to persuade someone, clearly state your thesis, provide 3 arguments, and at the end, restate the thesis once more. And refrain from switching to you and the desire to excessively persuade a person. Just convey your own opinion. Looking forward to seeing you again soon. Well, now you know how to concisely and convincingly present your idea. However, let's delve deeper and explore how we can enhance the impact with this technique. Frame and picture. Let's add a bit of imagery and presupposition techniques. Avoid these terms, I'll explain how it works. Let's have another look. Thesis, 3 arguments, final thesis. Adding the effect of culmination, the framing technique. Remember how reporters and journalists do this. Before giving us any information, they say, "Get ready. It's going to be incredible. If you're standing, you'd better sit down." The most sensational, the most shocking. For instance, there's a long show, unsure if it's still on, hosted by Andrei Karaulov, called Moment of Truth. For the past 20 years, he starts every show. Sitting by the fireplace, in a deep voice, he says, "My friends, today's show is unique. Everything you will learn in this show is an unreal sensation, so get ready." And you sit there thinking, "Oh my, what is going to happen now?" And I don't recall the show's content afterward, but I do recall his intriguing us from the beginning. We won't overplay it, we'll just add a little bit like, spice, heating up the interest for the third most important argument. Before presenting the third argument, our third moment, we'll create a culmination effect. We'll emphasize it's the most important. We can say the third, and most importantly, third, and most interesting, third, and unbelievable. Briefly explain the third parameter to instantly communicate to the individual the way they should handle it. He will perceive it not just as a third argument, but he will relate to whether it is truly the most interesting. You're setting the filter, the plane of perception. It's good to say both the third and my favorite. Our attitude works well. We emphasize non-verbally. The third argument should be stated louder, clearer, more energetically, and supported by a gesture. And then your structure will not just be a linear persuasion. It will have a very interesting accent. But that's not all yet. Let's add a picture. Let's recall the imagery of speech. Remember the 5 channels. Visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, taste. In other words, see, hear, feel. The same here. Everything we talked about before was the logic in our scheme from thesis to thesis. Let's add a picture. Imagine it and describe it. For instance, our thesis. I'm sure it's better to live in the rural area. First, there's fresh air. Second, more personal space. And thirdly, the most important and my favorite, you can grow your own vegetables and even fruits. And here comes the picture. Just imagine. Morning. You step barefoot onto your own lawn, through the grass, with dew still there, breathing in the fresh air, and most importantly, silence. That's why I believe it's better to live outside the city. Feel how we balance logic with emotions. Avoid overreacting. But with a complex tech product, how do you describe it? Imagine interacting with this machine. It's oil gliding through your hands. Sure, it'll be weird and absurd. Show me. Describe specifically, well, for some reason, I have an example of a machine in my head. Yes, how to visualize worker-machine interaction. Describe a day of an employee or an interaction element, where with just a press, he presses 3 keys, the machine starts working quietly, not audible in the neighboring office. In other words, describe, demonstrate not only the function, properties, associations, paint a vivid picture in the person's mind of their actions, emotions, understanding in this case. Exhibit one interaction element, and at the end, strengthen the thesis one more time. That's why I am convinced that I'm sure you have felt the power in these tools, and your influential speech is already gaining new strength. Apply them and, of course, take action. Hello, I'm back with you, Alexei Sobolev. If you thought we've covered everything we could about the influence of beliefs, then no. One more important element. How does our scheme look again? Thesis, 3 arguments. Third argument, most important one. We add a picture of emotions, images, and finally a thesis. But we forgot the most important thing. The majority of people in the world are tuned to one radio wave. The radio wave is called "What's in it for me?" People always ask themselves, what's in it for me? Well, and what's the benefit for me from this? Everything we hear, see, perceive goes through our filter of what's in it for me. What do I get out of this? What's my benefit here? That's how our ego is structured. It's neither good nor bad, it's just a fact. So, of course, if we try to persuade someone, or rather not try, but persuade, we add benefits. We are inquiring about what is significant to an individual. Why does it hold importance to them? And we use magic words. Thanks to what and what it will allow. That is, we don't just say, I am sure rural life is great because, firstly, there is fresh air. Add, what will this fresh air provide to an individual? And we include an advantage, thanks to which you will experience improved sleep, wake up earlier, feel more alert and energetic, perform much better, and most likely achieve higher earnings. Secondly, personal space. This will allow you to place, for example, a small exercise machine and save on fitness by working out every day either on a treadmill or an exercise bike, thus avoiding costly gym memberships and enjoying the convenience of exercising at home. And thirdly, my favorite, is my very own garden, specifically a vegetable garden. So what is in it for me personally? This will allow you to relieve stress and experience unreal pleasures when you grow cucumbers, strawberries with your own hands, and then imagine the picture starting, and then imagine friends arriving, you cutting parsley from the garden bed, making a salad. Oh, I am convinced that life beyond the border is better. Feel it, the same scheme, but we have added a specific benefit to each element. Now it is very important, every person strives to obtain 3 key resources everywhere: happiness, freedom, success. And all 3 simultaneously. In a wide sense, we desire to be happy, we desire to experience a great feeling. We want to be free and we want to be successful, recognized. Sometimes a person is happy, but not free and not successful. Like a guy with a guitar playing in the basement, he's happy but unknown, his songs unheard, he's not free, no bicycle for him to roam. For example, a person is free. Unemployed, he is free to do what he wants, but he lacks success and happiness. Or on the contrary, a successful person. Wolf of Wall Street, he works 20 hours a day, he has mountains of money, but he is not happy, he is a hostage of his work, and he has no freedom, he only works, works, works. Feel, we need balance. And ideally, how each of these elements will reveal, how each benefit will reveal one of these resources. In the example I mentioned, fresh air can provide us with a feeling of happiness, which means that you will experience increased energy and wake up in a positive mood. You have additional available space, personal space. This is the realization of the requirement for freedom. Each member of your family will have their own room, so you will find yourself in greater seclusion. But again, this is for your happiness. And thirdly, you will experience success and recognition. Your friends will come and envy your remarkable achievements in gardening, and so on and so forth. So, look, ideally, every argument should be tied to a specific resource. How can you make people happier, freer, and more successful? A simple and highly effective scheme, this is how it looks. If you build a structure like this, you are simply destined for success. Of course, it's not a people management control button, but this way you will make your speech as effective as possible. By utilizing this scheme, you have the ability to generate sales, promotional videos, clips, and even carry out live broadcasts. The key thesis is arguments, benefits for people. The third argument is strong, the picture and the final thesis. This also functions very effectively. Take action, implement it in practicality, persuade and exert influence. It's great that you've made the decision to rejoin this course and enhance your skills in influential, persuasive, and vibrant speech. Today we will discuss ourselves. This lesson will be somewhat self-centered on our part. Self-presentation. What is self-presentation? Let's immediately give some definition. It is the ability to create an image in another person's mind. Image of oneself. The image you require. Quite frequently, we do not have control over how we are perceived. In other words, thousands of people don't know us or are subscribed to us. For example, subscribers know us, and each of them has their own image of you. We have our close circle of individuals who know us, and each of them possesses their own depiction of you. The skill of self-presentation is the ability to create an image in someone's mind about you so that they perceive you exactly as you want them to. It may seem difficult, but in reality it's not. The first thing I wanted to talk about. Imagine magical scales. Well, it's a kind of metaphor. And you, your whole life, all your experiences, knowledge, skills, all your achievements, material and immaterial goods, everything about you with your entire life were placed on magical scales. And the scales showed the value of a person. Let's evaluate it in gold coins. And here you were put on the scales, and 4 gold coins showed these scales. There are 4, not many, not few, just 4. And this is the true and actual objective value that you have. What happens when we want to present ourselves in a stressful situation? I see this very often on dates, in interviews, during public appearances. We start to lose ourselves due to anxiety, lack of confidence, inadequate self-esteem, inability to value ourselves, accept, and simply know ourselves. It's like we're starting to give ourselves some resilience. It's like we're making a deal with ourselves. Oh, come on, nothing special. 20 years of experience as an expert with incredible expertise and one of the best in this field. Yes, we're letting it all go. Silly job, nothing interesting, nothing special, big deal. And as we utter these words, we think it's modesty that adorns a person. But we listen to this and think, well, yeah, really nothing interesting. And this significant pain that I frequently encounter when I see remarkable specialists, simply incredible, experienced, unique, charismatic, who seamlessly blend themselves in with such presentations. Currently, it's just an approach. Later we'll discuss how to specifically talk about yourself effectively. But the main metaphor is that you can present yourself as if on 5 gold coins. Why is this needed and what does it actually look like? Let me just give an example. Such a character in history is Thomas Edison. Yes, there's an opinion this is real, while some think it could have been a legend. Doesn't matter, just an example. Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. According to legend, he conducted 1,000 or even 10,000 experiments before that very light bulb lit up. This is how Thomas Edison would talk about himself, using our principle of gold coins as a means of communication and self-expression. For 3 gold coins, he'd say. And honestly, to be honest, broke 1,000 bulbs, one accidentally lit up. In exchange for 4 gold coins, I conducted 1,000 experiments, and through painstaking work, I eventually found a successful model and successfully invented the light bulb. 5 gold coins. The same fact. Friends, hundreds of newspapers around the world have written that I am a genius and have sparked an industrial revolution. I brought light to this world. Thanks to me, a huge number of people, millions of people, have changed their lives, and the whole planet owes me. A bit pompous, I agree. But the fact remains the same. Here, I even fine-tuned the presentation to 10 gold coins, and that's unnecessary. Meaning of 5 gold coins? Many people resist. Alexei, don't want to praise, don't want to lie. No need to lie about yourself. We discuss real facts and achievements, but valuing yourself, presenting yourself, and creating the desired image of yourself is your main goal. Let me give you another example to make it clearer. Imagine networking, a conference. You have come to meet and interact with people. Many people from different professions, all geared towards active communication and getting to know each other, and then someone approaches you, extends their hand, says, "Good evening, do you mind if we get acquainted? My name is Oleg, I'm an engineer." Period. Let's be honest, right away. What association? Oleg is an engineer. I employ this example and regularly conduct surveys with my students as part of my teaching methodology. I get varied opinions. Here they say, an engineer is often boring, introverted, dull. Someone says systematic, educated. So, the most polarizing opinions. But for some reason, most of the audience tends to think he's uninteresting, boring, and monotonous, like a tech geek. This is the 3 gold coins when a person lacks control over how they're perceived. They provided minimal info and blended into the background. Certainly he cannot even correct and say further. For instance, I will not ask Oleg, "Nice to meet you, and in what field do you work?" He will state, "I am employed in developing software code for 5th-generation fighter aircraft." I pondered, wow, that's impressive. There are 200 of them, true, programmers. He does it by 0.5%, but he is engaged in it. So, this is already valued at 5 gold coins. Do you comprehend the principle? When you offer information that distinctly forms the desired professional image of yourself. Alright, I know. Maybe someone thought that Alexei is now suggesting praising oneself, putting oneself forward. No, it's about confidence and adequate self-esteem, about the ability to sell yourself. How to do it specifically? Be sure to watch the next video. I will tell you how with the right questions we can present ourselves in a favorable light. See you soon. Hello once more, Alexei Sobolev at this point, and it is the moment to unpack your personality and comprehend how to present yourself in the most optimal manner. In the previous video, we discussed that the main idea is to create a picture in the listener's minds and not reveal oneself, but present oneself advantageously. What will help us with this? To begin with right now, take a pen, pencil, a piece of paper and write down 3 facts about yourself. Take a break at this moment and jot down 3 pieces of information about yourself. Do not continue until you have completed this task. Okay, you wrote down 3 facts about yourself. If more, then that's good. 3 to 5 facts is enough. And now, inquire about each fact. How did I arrive at this conclusion? Ask yourself a few questions. In what way does this manifest? What have I been able to achieve? How does this reflect on other people in their perception of me? What impact does this fact have on your environment? How do I feel about it? What feelings, emotions, pride, inspiration, joy do I experience? What are my aspirations? What are my objectives and ambitions related to this particular matter? And going back a bit, I hope you understand that these are positive facts and no need to write about how you broke your leg last year. Not only facts, I am discussing more about facts that define your personality, and do not simply write, I am a mother. Well, it's hard to answer how I came to this. Just boom, and I'm a mom. Anyway, you write down 3-5 facts that you would like to share about yourself, and inquire of them the subsequent inquiries. And you observe I emphasized in bold at this point a highly significant question that guides us to your internal values, to your profound motivators. Reflect particularly deeply on these inquiries. What does this provide me with? Why is this significant to me? This assists you in identifying your internal motivators for activities. For instance, on occasion, an individual functions as an engineer, and when you commence questioning yourself why this is significant to you, what does it provide me? For instance, you extract the value that patriotism is crucial to a person, and it's vital for them to be involved in a global project through their work at an enterprise. His value. Sometimes it happens that another person, e.g. a marketer, appears as one engineer and the other as a marketer. They have nothing in common. But inside, when you consider the value for an engineer, motivation, patriotism, involvement in a great cause for the country, for instance, for a marketer, the value may be the same. He simply realizes the same value through a different activity. When you present yourself and tell not just the surface, I am an engineer, but I am a marketer, and you explain why I do this, what is important to me in my work. You show another person, look, here are my values, here is the foundation of my personality, here are my main motivators. And the other individual listens and thinks, wow, this is also regarding me. You engage in skiing and I participate in mountain biking. Extreme is vital to me, intense sensations are vital to you. On the surface, it may seem like there's nothing in common, but deep inside, there's something that unites us. It's the team, any team, that unites based on values, not external characteristics, but deep ones. The most vivid display of a team is family. Externally, when you see this family, you think, no shared traits. But deep inside, they know what unites them is this profound thing like values and motivators. The person who clearly knows what drives them, what makes them jump out of bed in the morning and run to their favorite job. They know their values and motivators. This is the foundation and core inside. And he sees another person with inexhaustible values. For example, for me, the value is to be helpful to people, while for another person, the value is money at any cost. We won't be able to work. I know my values, I won't adjust to him. I'll simply say no to him and squeeze him out of my social circle. Harsh, but that's how it is. A person who doesn't know their values, they try to be somewhere, benefit from it, and so on. So unpack yourself, extract your values, and take a fresh look at yourself from a different perspective, gaining new insights and understanding. A figure of facts of your real achievements. Well, in general, ask yourself these questions and look at yourself with new eyes. I'm sure you will discover a lot. And then you can package your presentation. It's similar to our algorithm for persuasive speaking. 3 facts. Fact number 1. For instance, I am a leader in such and such field. Question. Why is this important to me? It fulfills my need to work in a team. I really enjoy it when we overcome very complex obstacles. For example, recently we made such and such project. Secondly, I have 3 children. How does this fulfill me? And you explain what this provides, why it's crucial for you to be a father of 3 kids or a mother. And the third fact. And you also talk about it and ask one of the questions from this unpacking. And it turns out to be a bright and interesting presentation. And this will be your presentation worth 5 gold coins. Such a presentation can be utilized, for instance, when you are speaking at a large conference and simply requested to say a few words regarding yourself. Here are 3 facts that you are just telling. Or at the beginning of an interview, it often starts in a casual format, tell a little about yourself. And you're given a couple of minutes. Such a short presentation about yourself. This scheme will work perfectly. Don't be afraid to shape an image of yourself. Be confident in yourself. See you later. Hello, I'm glad you're back with us, and we continue to work on improving self-presentation. Today we will talk about a specific algorithm for a business card. How to present yourself in 30 seconds. Have you heard of the phenomenon called elevator speech or elevator pitch, a story in the elevator? In an elevator, you must introduce yourself within the time it takes for the elevator to reach your floor. This legend started when young entrepreneurs were waiting on the first floor by the elevator for well-known investors and regular investors. They were on the top floor in the penthouse, and here the elevator was going for about 30 seconds, and entrepreneurs were rushing into the elevator with an investor. And while the elevator was reaching the top floor, they had time to present themselves or their idea. This is where the idea of this elevator pitch was born, and we will now try to present ourselves succinctly and briefly, because as practice shows, we always have little time and are overloaded with information. But for the present time, I will save you time on personal branding training and begin by asking you 3 key questions to assist in shaping and packaging the core of your personal brand for you. Personal brand is 3 questions. The first question, who do I want to be? Here we clearly define our target audience. Who are these people? In the previous videos, we researched our target audience, studying the people we want to perform for. And that knowledge will be very useful and helpful now to shape your personal brand. So, who do I want to target? The target audience is the people to whom our key message of self-presentation is directed. Second question, what did you think of me? What do you want other people to think of you? Remember, what image, what association comes to mind when you think of your opinion leaders, well, bloggers, who you follow? These are the people who influence you, whom you consider authoritative and significant personalities. Why are you following a food expert? Specifically him. What makes him special? There are countless experts like him. Surely he has some unique feature, and this highlight is also within you. Think about what your clients, colleagues, and environment say about you, how they perceive you, and what you would like other people to think about you. Right now, take note. What specific image? What association? Not just that you are an expert. Millions of experts. What kind are you? The most honest, the most sincere, the most open, charismatic, unique, and so on. What type of individual would you prefer to be? And the third query. And what were you engaging in? I desire my viewers to contemplate me and take action. Target audience, image, and desired action. This is not what we announce to the public. It's not a presentation for someone. It's preparation for ourselves. And this is how the presentation sounds for our listeners, for a potential investor, for our target audience. This is what we want to convey. 5 steps. First step, status. We express ourselves. I'm an expert in such field. Ideally express a niche that is as specific as possible. I'm not just a real estate agent, but for example, I specialize in selecting investment properties abroad, such as commercial real estate, residential, and so on. So you demonstrate the specific niche in which you operate. Following that, the appropriate verb. Literally one word that describes your activity. For example, I help, or I create, I work on, develop. Next is the target audience. Let me give you an example. I am an expert in public speaking and communication skills. I help people who want to learn how to confidently, vividly, and convincingly communicate their thoughts, do it publicly in offline and online formats. So what did I show? I displayed my status. I showed the target audience that my message is directed towards. I have a wide audience. I characterize them based on their interests. The next thing is the outcome. What kind of result do people obtain? For me, it's about confidence, the skill of influence, convictions, the ability to present oneself easily and effortlessly, build any communication, which helps people increase their income, get a new position, form the right circle of interesting people, and overall become a free individual. And evidence. I have been working for over 7 years in major companies such as Rostelecom, Lukoil, Gazprom among my clients. Over 5,000 graduates, yes, and so on and so forth. It's simple, you need social proof here. Status. I am an expert in such and such field. I assist, or any other appropriate verb. Specify the target audience so that the people it is aimed at can resonate internally. Okay, I am his target audience. This is exactly for me. Or maybe not, this is not about me. Show the result, make a promise that you are creating this kind of result, thanks to which, what changes in life will lead to achieving this result. And then the evidence. You made a bold promise, made a statement about yourself, prove how many years you have been studying this, how many educations, how many people, turnovers, numbers, maximum specificity. Logic is necessary, that's all. Fitting into 30 seconds is realistic. It's 2 to 3 expanded sentences. Prepare for 30 seconds and let us begin. Capture a video, become a member of our exclusive club where you can enhance your presentation skills and receive feedback from me. We will meet again shortly. Goodbye for now. Hello pals, Alexei Sobolev speaking, and today we're going to discuss a highly fascinating subject. This is the imposter syndrome. I often encounter professionals, truly good experts in their field, who are afraid to go online, publicly declare themselves, refuse opportunities, for example, to speak at conferences, because there is a certain imposter syndrome. Who am I in reality? I am not good enough yet. So how do you truly understand the magnitude of your value as a specialist? It's all very simple. I suggest we go through this algorithm together right now and finally deal with the imposter syndrome once and for all. First, of course, find all the external validations of your professionalism. This includes education. These are reviews, the perspectives and judgments of other individuals recorded in a highly permanent and unchangeable manner. Gather all of this, go through it again, review all of your achievements. You don't just need some internal opinion or feeling, you need concrete facts, tangible evidence to support your claims and validate your accomplishments. Second point, give some thought to additional approaches you can employ to verify and demonstrate your expertise. Organize their presence. Reviews, gather more reviews. There was a stage when I didn't collect reviews, and at some point I simply sent out a message to all my clients, asked them to write reviews, and literally within a few days, more than 200 reviews were written, guys. I reread them, and in some places tears were really rolling down my cheeks because people had such bright results. And, well, obviously this greatly enhanced my self-esteem. Even though I didn't have significant issues with it, I found pleasure in working. However, this work internally had a profound impact on strengthening and shaping my personal and professional identity in a meaningful way. Reviews, awards, accolades, articles, and so on. In other words, what can you do to reinforce this significance in the form of external validations? To deliver a speech at a particular venue, write an article, conduct a collaborative live broadcast at a designated location, take part in specific competitions where awards are presented. You do not have to schedule it and perform it immediately, plan it for the upcoming 12 months without delay or hesitation. The third stage is to create, which is a very important moment. During this stage, create a list of your colleagues who earn several times more than you do. Indeed, there are open sources available for you to look at, through which you can indirectly infer how much they earn. If you spot someone with 1 million followers, conducting launches and discussing 3,000 signups, estimate the cost and make a rough guess about their earnings based on that information. Of course, different people. They broadcast different numbers, but we can always make assumptions. Compile a list of these colleagues. 3, 5, and 10 have been brought together, and then analyze each one clearly to see what they can do individually and collectively. Observe what they are capable of doing that you are unable to. Take a look at their programs, what they provide from any available sources. Evaluate and analyze the competencies, skills, abilities, and knowledge they possess that you do not have. You must clearly understand this for yourself. Moving on to point number 5. Develop a realistic plan of where and how you will learn these skills, where you will acquire these abilities. Once more, it is not necessary at this moment. We are in the process of creating a realistic plan. Next, consider who you need to meet, what useful connections to establish, and what joint projects are required. Additionally, establish a practical plan. We accomplish all of these tasks within the time frame of 12 months. So you create a plan for a duration of 12 months, specifying the new skills you intend to acquire. If you are short on time, you can adjust the time frame to 3 to 6 months. However, in most cases, if you want to make a significant leap, it is typically necessary to develop a realistic plan for projects and establish new connections within a 12-month time frame. And an important point to note, make sure you take the initial step within the next 12 hours towards achieving your plans and goals. Not just writing everything and forgetting about it, but within 12 hours writing to someone, let's meet, make an advance payment for a course, buy the necessary book, arrange a meeting, and so on and so forth. A very straightforward plan, but incredibly efficient. Trust me, if you faithfully adhere to this algorithm consisting of 7 steps, there will be absolutely no evidence remaining of your imposter syndrome. Your inner resilience, belief in yourself as an expert, will simply soar to the skies, and you will no longer ever worry about what others think of you as an expert. Make sure to try, apply, and act. See you. And once again, here is Alexei Sobolev with you, and today we are talking about how to broadcast online. If you need to perform not only live, but also look into lifeless eyes, conduct live streams, webinars, how to speak in a live broadcast, or record videos. I have many good specialists coming to me who say, Alexei, I perform live and it's amazing. Meetings, briefings, seminars, live performances at conferences, but when the camera turns on, there's a fog in my head. I don't know what to say, everything falls apart, and it annoys me. Let's analyze the critical differences between offline live performances and online. Firstly, it is important to understand that in a live performance, the environment supports you. It's hard to stand up and go, for example. Imagine, especially if the speaker is presenting and there's a door behind them. Only a very uncultured person would stand up and leave if they don't like it. It's very easy to leave online. You started the live broadcast, didn't like it, with a single finger movement you already left, and you don't feel guilty. In offline format, people have already dedicated their time and attention to you by coming here, so it's much harder for them to get distracted by something else. Online, a cat ran by, opened a new tab, became trapped on a new YouTube video, and in that very moment, attention is immediately dispersed in multiple directions. Here lies the key characteristic, the capability to maintain attention. In live performances, maintaining attention is much easier because there are individuals right in front of you. And when you perform live, you witness the eyes of the audience and you engage with them in a meaningful way. Online, there is no eye contact, and it's very difficult to assess nonverbal cues because you don't know these people. And who is on the opposite side of the screen? What do they still think of you? In person, you perform, you observe people's reactions, you derive nourishment from their emotional response to your words. You understand what to do, you understand how to adjust your performance if you suddenly see that someone doesn't like something, and so on. So you can evaluate this non-verbal emotional aspect, which is not available online. Naturally, online performances are considerably more demanding than live ones, but by mastering the art of performing online, you enhance your skills as a speaker much more effectively, and subsequently, live performances become significantly easier for you, making you feel completely at ease. And the most important point, which we will discuss in the following video lessons, is anonymity. Online, yes, when you log in, no one knows you, no one sees you, it frees you up. For instance, in person, if someone dislikes something, they feel shy to share their opinion. Online, it's easier to do so. Composing a negative, angry comment is extremely simple. That is precisely why this anonymity is the breeding ground for haters. But next, step by step, we will discuss how to look cool on camera, how to feel confident. And how do you handle these haters? Let's ensure that your online and on-screen presence are advantageous for you. Looking forward to seeing you in the upcoming video. A vast number of excellent experts are hesitant to go online, turning down these opportunities because they genuinely worry about what other people will think of them. They believe others will see it, then they'll say, yuck, how terrible, it's not suitable, don't do it, don't go out. They are afraid of looking funny, silly, and ridiculous because they see some teenagers filming themselves for TikTok, and they think they also need to act that way or they will look foolish as well. And the older we get, the higher our status and level of expertise in offline life, the scarier it is for us to appear funny and foolish. But of course, we need to understand that this is just a reputational risk. Like in this picture, we are afraid that people will react to us like this. So, oh no, you do not need to do this anymore. We are afraid that our self-esteem will somehow disappear because of this. But let's try to do something about it. Of course, our key task is to understand for ourselves what it really takes to look foolish and ridiculous. You really need to do something for that. You need to try very hard. In real life, with a high probability, if you don't look foolish and ridiculous in life, then you won't look foolish and ridiculous online, on camera either. At the most, the worst thing. You might appear a little awkward, a little tense and nervous, but it is not critical in any way. This can be worked on. Moreover, all the previous elements of the course will help you to look confident on camera. If you don't look foolish and funny in real life, you won't look like that on camera either. But the most interesting part is the irony. You're not a perfect speaker, because perfect speakers don't exist, nor do perfect people. I haven't met anyone who could stand in front of camera for first time and start broadcasting immediately. This is a skill, and it is acquired through learning. Professional speakers possess a technique known as own other. We also talked about her a little bit, but I will reveal her in a different light. They know that they trust imperfect people. They prepare in advance micro pauses, micro mistakes, micro nuances in their speech through which they connect with the audience. They know that if they are perfect, then the person in the room is sitting and listening or on the other side of the screen watching and thinking, but he is too perfect. No such people, he's a stranger. Because I'm not perfect. Yes, I'm a person. I make mistakes. If he doesn't make mistakes, he's an alien from another planet. Therefore, the speaker steps onto the stage, makes a small mistake, or talks about themselves, their flaws, minor nuances. And I listen, think, wow, he's just like me, he's his own guy, he also makes mistakes, he also has some slip-ups or flaws, and then the connection comes with the audience. Do you understand what the peculiarity is? And we go live and switch to the mode, I'm a talking head, I'm perfect, everything is great with me, we apply some filter and so on. Here is the paradox. The harder we try to be perfect, the more tension it creates, the more likely we are to make mistakes and feel strained. You may have noticed that in this video course I allow myself to make mistakes, stumble over words, and sometimes not even say the right word correctly because I am a real person. I give myself the right to make mistakes, and I'm okay with that because I have real experience, real achievements, and for me that's much more important than some perfect ideal speech. I am certain you have heard the main concept here. Do not try to be perfect, because sincerity has long been a trend. And here's the irony. It's a very powerful tool. Laughing at yourself, laughing at your mistakes makes you invulnerable, because once you've laughed at it, no one else can laugh at it anymore. Now tell yourself, I'm not a perfect speaker, and I have the right to make mistakes. Then it's easier. You become freer. You don't need to play the role of an incredibly super cool expert. You can be a real person who can make mistakes. However, when you inform yourself, I possess the entitlement to make mistakes, it does not imply you are establishing yourself for failure. This means that you accept any outcome of events. This means that you can make mistakes. It is this right that relaxes you, removes unnecessary tension, which usually causes people to make mistakes. That's exactly because of this tension. Write about your failures and laugh at them. Be able to do this publicly. If you have followers, you broadcast online, you can share this. You can go on stories and say, friends, I'm not good at speaking on camera yet, but I really want to learn because I'm a cool expert. I have so many achievements. Assist me, support me periodically, provide me with feedback, and I will be improving this skill in front of your eyes like some kind of show. Everything. What you have laughed at, what you have spoken yourself, no one else will be able to use it against you. Let's try to look at an example of irony. Correct example. Nature gave me big ears. With their aid, I hear gossip in the smoking area. I have lots of compromising material. Funny, humorous, cool. Later, no one can mock this person for big ears, but if he laughed, it's off topic. It doesn't bother him at all. One could say wrongly, with offense and self-deprecation, that I have ears like an elephant. It's a pity I can't flap them. Not self-irony, more like self-pity. That's why it doesn't work. Friends, remember, honesty is the trend now. Perfect, polished images of an ideal life don't appeal to anyone. So it is the right time to be yourself, easily and freely express and talk about yourself on camera. Next, we will discuss how to beautifully set up the frame so that you simply enjoy looking at yourself and like yourself in the frame. Don't miss it. See you soon. And another very important point regarding working on camera. Frequently individuals say to me, Alexei, what new information can I share with my audience? I am extremely worried that everyone will say it is banal. And it is truly a kind of curse that comes with expert knowledge and poses significant challenges. What new can I tell? The internet is already full of everything. And this picture also reflects a certain fear. Your scared people will doze off, will think, oh, everyone already knows this, it's boring, it's banal and uninteresting. And here, just to note it down for myself, these are my actual research findings, the curse of expert knowledge effect. You might think that by engaging with this topic, you know a lot about it, and you might think that other people know as much as you do. Just recently, I worked with a woman who is an entrepreneur, a fantastic leader of a consulting company. And she is called to speak at conferences, webinars, to share her opinion. And she thinks, what new can I tell them? Alexei, I'd rather decline these appearances. You always have to come up with something new there. I say, why new? Well, everyone already knows all my knowledge. So, it appears to her that her 20 years of experience, tenure in accounting, finance, management, what she studied for 20 years, is also widely known.
This is a fantastic banality. For the majority of individuals, the topic that you will be discussing, the subject that you are engaged in, this information will be novel to them. There are people who have already heard this, and that's a very important point, but it will resonate with them coming from you. Have you ever encountered hearing the identical information from various speakers, but solely on the 10th occasion, so to speak? The coin eventually falls, and there is an aha moment. Exactly. Now I understand it. I had a similar experience when I was deeply involved in spiritual practices, studying this topic, and hearing various theses, ideas, and thoughts. And having read Eckhart Tolle's book a couple of years ago, I came across phrases that were long familiar to me, but it was in this book that I found all the answers. This book completely changed my consciousness and divided my life into before and after. But this is just an example of how the same information from different sources, from different speakers, comes in and brings about profound changes. Yes, there will be a tiny portion of the audience who knew what you were going to say, experts just like you. But know that according to surveys of people, they don't mind hearing this information again, because they also agree that it is important. And this also reinforces their knowledge. Therefore, we are making a very important conclusion with you. Take a red marker, write it down, and remember it forever. It's not about the novelty of the information, it's about the presentation. There will always be people who will resonate with you specifically because each of you is unique. You will definitely find your audience. Among the vast internet audience of millions, there are people who are waiting for your unique presentation. And people are waiting for you specifically. And it's from your words that they will say, wow, exactly, thank you, Guru. Take action. Do not wait for the opportune moment, because it is already here and unfolding right before you. So, Alexei Sobolev is back on the line. We continue with you. Our mindset is adjusted, unnecessary fears and doubts are removed. It is time to appreciate yourself on camera and properly set up the equipment so that the picture appears beautiful and we can derive enjoyment from it. There are many beliefs that limit us. We've covered the key ones, but often I hear that I don't recognize myself in the frame. The camera doesn't like me. Why don't we like ourselves in photos? This psychological phenomenon is what we will now discuss together. We think that in life we are such a lively, wonderful, energetic, bright, emotional person. We record it on video, then watch it and think, what is this all about? Here Buratino sits, wooden, saying something, and it's not me, it's another person. And then we abandon this idea, thinking we will never record again. Friends, attention. This is how our visual perception works. We see ourselves in the mirror. When we observe ourselves on video and observe ourselves in photographs, this image is the reverse of that picture. It is a mirrored reflection. Plus, of course, we have peculiarities in our perception. For example, we always part our hair on one side, but in a photo it appears on the other side, one eye larger than the other. There is this certain asymmetry. The eyebrows differ in shape, the smile on the corner of the mouth is larger, and so on. A mole on one side, and so on. That is, we aren't used to seeing ourselves on screen. We don't recognize you because we're not accustomed due to this psychological phenomenon. What to do? Just get used to yourself on video. Record a daily video diary, just for yourself. For 1 minute every day, you record and watch, reviewing yourself, getting accustomed to seeing yourself on the screen. Over time, you'll learn more about yourself, and consequently, you'll like yourself on camera. In short, yes, you must put in effort here. Just 1 minute daily, and this problem will be resolved. Subsequently, complete silence will prevail. I do not like my voice in recordings. I have heard this 1,000 times. And an important point. Our voice in recordings, which we are accustomed to hearing differently, we do not recognize it either. The way we hear our voice, we hear it as if from the inside. Due to the peculiarities of the structure of the inner ear, we hear it the way only we hear it. Other people perceive him differently. The way we hear him in audio recordings, voice messages, on video recordings. This is the way all other individuals perceive him. And we are frightened of him, we do not like him simply because we did not acknowledge him. It is not me. That is the reason why I do not like it. It is simple. We become accustomed to our own voice over a period of time. We listen more often, record audio more often, and listen to it again. We just get used to it. Simply the fact of becoming accustomed to your voice, just like with video, as time passes, you will begin to develop a greater liking for your voice. Moreover, you have exercises on intonation, tempo, and timbre that will help make your voice deeper and more vibrant, enriching the intonation. Thus, these two elements combined will assist you in enhancing and embracing yourself on screen and your voice. Let us observe and explore the additional techniques we can employ to genuinely appreciate ourselves on screen, in order to present our optimal appearance in this particular image. The formula is very simple: light, angle, and frame. Let's see what I'm talking about. proper lighting. You observe the same picture, the same girl, simply illuminated from different sides. You perceive at certain moments it even seems like a different person. Light from the side, from above, from behind, and so on. And indeed, only light has the power to greatly alter the perspective. Light has the ability to accentuate certain features of appearance, and conversely, light has the potential to completely ruin or diminish them. Yes, this picture. Never take photos of yourself in an office space where the light from those awful lamps falls from above, and then you'll say, "I look ugly." You simply disfigured yourself with light. The appropriate light, the light source positioned in front of you, that is frontal, is the optimal choice when soft natural light shines through the window pane. If exposed to direct sunlight, it is advisable to find ways to soften the light, such as using paper, a curtain, or another object, in order to achieve a slightly softened lighting effect that is more pleasing to the eye, frontally or at a slight angle. Currently, I possess a ring light, frontal, direct, light source, and it is the most comfortable for me, and the picture is of the highest quality under these conditions. What else can we add with light? Like I have a small light source against any warm light lantern in the background, which is positioned once again behind you, giving volume and a certain wow effect. You can use colored items, as bloggers do, or simply a small light that illuminates the space behind you. Next, the right angle. Attention friends, even Miss Universe and a recognized beauty can be ruined by the wrong angle, as you can see in these examples. They simply captured an unfortunate angle. The correct angle has the potential to showcase the same individual in a remarkably incredible new perspective, or completely blend and form the most unfavorable impression imaginable. Just recently, I was documenting homework for personal feedback for the participants of the course. Look, it's the same person. The dissimilarity is literally a span of 2 hours. Distinct viewpoint, as though they are two distinct individuals. Correct angle. Position the camera slightly above eye level. This way the face will appear slightly elongated visually, it will look slimmer, and you will appear more expressive. Make sure the camera doesn't cast a shadow on you. Yes, by doing this, you'll get rid of that double chin effect. Correct framing composition. Here this is a kind of professional technique. Divide the frame with a grid. In many phones this element is called exactly that in the settings. Grid. It's called the rule of thirds. Rule of thirds. Let the eyes be positioned on the top line and leave a little space above the head and on the sides for free gesticulation. Let's show how the hosts of the first channel do it. They know the rules of framing composition precisely. This 3x3 grid is familiar to you. Ideally, if your eyes are located at the intersection or on the second line. By following this approach, you will appear more appealing. Utilize this guideline and the impression will be exceptionally comfortable for your audience, and it will operate on a subconscious level. Background. The question that is most frequently asked when shooting a video is which background should I choose for my video? But in reality, the most important thing is not to overthink it. If choosing a background is something that stops you, blocks you, just start shooting, and then you can worry about the background later. What would be better to do as a recommendation? Try not to stick to the wall so that there is, like, for example, some space behind you as I have. Avoid specific objects as you observe in this location in order to prevent the actual growth of horns on your body. And yet, if you have a completely monochromatic background and wall, don't stick too close to it so you have the ability to move around. In any case, the space behind you will work for you. You can manipulate it with light in this case. Small details. Clothing choice. In a fine stripe or check pattern, it will likely create a strong moire effect on camera. The same principle applies to synthetic clothing. Conduct a test shot and observe if the clothes have that particular effect or not. Utilize the law of contrast. With a dark background, I can wear light clothing. However, based on the rules of contrast, if there is a white wall, then I would require dark clothing. Dark background, white clothing, light background, darker clothing. But in reality, it's not that critical. And most importantly, don't forget to wipe the camera lens and don't be surprised later if you have some unexplained blurriness. Basic rules. Take them to heart and do not postpone for later. Start recording yourself, go online, take action, see you later. Hello? Today we are discussing haters. We have already talked about how to respond to provocative questions, but what should you do if you are simply doing a live broadcast and people write nasty things in the comments, under posts? in response to your stories, or during a live broadcast they write something unpleasant and offensive to you. It is precisely the fear of these haters, the fear of this negative reaction, that causes many competent experts to miss out on a substantial number of opportunities. That is, not to conduct live broadcasts, not to assert themselves, not to build a personal brand online presence. Although it seems to me that everything has been online for a long time, many experts still try to wait it out and think that everything will go back to how it was before and offline life will return. Let's see what we can do. It's very simple. Literally in 1 minute, we will now remove this fear together. How to react to haters and become immune to others' opinions. Remember, this anonymity, it unleashes hands. There is an incredibly intriguing psychological phenomenon that leads us to perceive all potential and actual individuals who harbor negative feelings or criticism towards us as mature and rational individuals in their thinking and behavior, which greatly influences our perception of them. So, how do we imagine a person who is negative towards us? Due to the psychological effect of projection, we are wired in such a way that it seems to us that we are being listened to, and that in our environment there are equally smart, respectable, knowledgeable, ethical people just like us. And it seems to us that the same kind of people as us come to us in live broadcasts because we want to communicate with them. In our eyes, in our worldview, we add images of these unfamiliar people, thinking that yes, they are just as normal as we are. And we believe in this moment we are speaking, and over there is seated such a sorrowful individual, perhaps even bearing a resemblance to our supervisor, assessing us, sitting sadly and contemplating, oh, there shall be no further instances of that. And that's why we are very scared. We feel that such mature, respectable people will give us this, again, failing grade. A very simple fact. In the year 2019, Royal Bank of Canada commissioned a study, and this is astonishing, in my opinion, information for us, for those who are concerned that individuals who dislike us can in some way cause harm to us. 86% of negative comments that were left on social media platforms belong to teenagers who are up to 14 years old. That is, when you become aware that someone is writing something unkind to you, in 9 out of 10 cases, even in 9.5 out of 10 cases, it will almost always be a teenager who is responsible for the message. Well, in a live performance, if you are on stage and suddenly a 12-year-old boy or girl starts saying something to you, how would you react to them? Will you take it seriously? Well, you will smile, say goodbye, and express your gratitude with a heartfelt thank you. Comprehend, pardon, and prohibit. That is an uncomplicated approach that I completely agree with and wholeheartedly support, which I urge you to utilize and employ. And every time you encounter a negative comment, handle it calmly like a teenager. Well, this is the period teenagers are experiencing. They are aggressive. That's how their personality is shaped. Nothing can be accomplished about it. But your responsibility is to tidy up your space, remove, prohibit. Do not provide a comment, not even participate in discussions. Do not become involved in this debate. Just release those who spit venom at you from your space easily, calmly, and smoothly, without any hesitation or attachment to their negative energy. I am confident that you enjoyed what we have just discussed, and it is now easier for you to accept this criticism because it is based on real facts. You cannot argue with research. Looking forward to seeing you. So, friends, we have reached the final, and as promised, at the end, I will share a very powerful algorithm on how to enhance your mastery of public speaking skills, how to use your phone as a powerful trainer, and essentially become a coach in public speaking for yourself. It is all very simple. Obviously, record videos while performing the exercises we discussed. Just make a video narrating how your day went. Maintain a video diary to document your experiences. But the most interesting part is, how do you further analyze these videos? Just watch them and delete? No. I propose a very interesting algorithm that will help you see yourself from different perspectives, like specialists do, such as myself. I analyze performances, videos, live presentations of others, but here we specifically focus on videos. The first algorithm and the first stage of this algorithm is to watch our recording as it is. During the initial viewing, it is preferable to concentrate on the positives and make a note of our strengths. Directly jot down what you liked, what should be retained. Once again, focus on the positives, what is truly the strongest aspect of your performance and your speech. It is very important to first focus on strengths because the critical substance of the mind will always find something to criticize you for. Let's rewatch this video again for the second time and switch off the sound. Take a look at the image once more. Just watch the video, and you will clearly see any unnecessary movements. You will be able to analyze the visual channel of perception very precisely. Avoid unnecessary movements towards gestures. And even try to rewind the slider, we have already mentioned this, and observe the extra movements that repeat during fast forward. We watch for the third time and now we only listen to the voice. Close your eyes, listen in headphones to how your speech sounds. You will promptly witness your pace, tone, intonation, what is acceptable, and areas that can be improved upon for enhancement. Now, for the fourth time, the final stage, let's watch it all together. Sound, picture, and at this stage, focus on the growth areas, on what needs to be changed and what needs to be improved. Friends, if you diligently and honestly follow this algorithm while reviewing your videos, you will simply achieve amazing results. We record videos of the exercises available, give ourselves feedback, and you will feel how even your confidence grows as you watch other videos of different speakers and presentations. Observe them closely and you will notice specific nuances in their delivery, content, voice, and body language. Well, utilize this algorithm. This is Alexei Sobolev with you. See you all later. Goodbye. Friends, hi! We're nearing the finish line and today we have the most fascinating topic. We'll summarize our discussions and attempt a live broadcast, which is why I'm reaching out to you. If you have never done a live broadcast before, try this amazing experience. It will really help you improve as an online speaker. In general, the skill of broadcasting, formulating one's thoughts in such a lively live format is a very cool practice. Now I will share my own techniques that help make live broadcasts bright, interesting, and serve as a tool for promoting your personal brand, your business, and other related endeavors. Well, let's see. First of all, the live broadcast. It's the biggest mistake that really shakes me up, you know? When starting a live broadcast, the speaker staying silent can be detrimental. People tend to join and expect immediate engagement, so it is crucial to avoid silence. Within the first 6 seconds, viewers decide whether to continue watching or leave. However, if you already have a strong subscriber base and loyal fans who eagerly anticipate your every word, waiting for your silence may be acceptable. Nonetheless, this is an exception rather than the norm. If you still wish to wait for people, consider playing music, dancing, or finding other ways to grab their attention. Don't waste their precious attention, as it is a valuable resource that should not be squandered. So if you're not providing anything useful but people are listening to you, they might later feel like, why did I even spend time on this? So you've borrowed their attention. By the way, 80% of people will still watch your live broadcast in the recording. So don't worry and start talking from the first words, or play music again and dance. By the way, this also works really well. Scientists concluded brain reboots every 7 mins, meaning max attention span is 7 mins. Human brain reboots approx every 7 mins. This limit is typically much shorter. If nothing changes in your speech within 7 minutes, or even better within 3 to 5, because 7 is the limit, and for most people it's 3 to 5. Nothing changes everything, the mind switched, and they forgot about you, the person left. See fewer people watching live broadcasts, wonder what's wrong with me, but didn't hold their attention. Focus shifted to nearby child asking for something, yes or something else. Remember, the online environment constantly distracts your listeners, and you must do everything possible to maintain their attention. Hence, every 7 mins at least, but ideally every 3 to 5 mins, something must change to prompt action, like asking rhetorical or direct cues. We've already talked about this with you. Prepare your questions. Let's eliminate monotony. Intonational swings help you. Review the initial video lessons where we worked on improving this skill. Pause. Increase the pauses at important points. Remember, we speak the main ideas slowly. We quickly articulate the additions. Content. Switch logic for imagery. Start with numbers, facts, statistics, then soften the tone and imagine, feel, sense. Change. One phrase that will help you retain the maximum amount of time and attention is change. Modify contrast, create desired elements, alter intonation, content, delivery, engagement. Be different. The more often you do this, the longer you will hold attention during the live broadcast. Yes, agree, it's not easy. Yes, it requires a certain dynamic, but it's very exciting and cool when you start catching the wave of this attention. Correct verbs. Relax, contemplate, feel. But there are certain trigger phrases that I suggest you use. You can take them, note them down for yourself. Write it down right now. By the way, I often use this. You may have noticed I always tell you, take a red marker, write this down, remember. I do this not so much to keep your attention, but truly because these are very important things. Furthermore, this creates an effect that is conducive to concentrating your attention and enhancing focus. The emphasis is placed on this. Moving forward. Reflect on this phrase. Now pay attention, repeat this phrase to yourself. Take into account these trigger phrases that will act as attention levers to capture and retain the interest of your audience. You're not just providing info, you're inviting people to reflect on this topic together. It's easiest to say, and now, pay attention. People are like that, so. Now something interesting is coming up. A very important secret of engagement. Personally, for me, how I conduct the broadcast and make it so that during the live broadcast, the number of subscribers, the number of viewers of my live broadcast grows. Preparing for the performance, live broadcast, and dividing it in advance into many micro parts. For example, I have a half-hour live broadcast where I discuss 16 rules of live broadcasting without nerves. I had a live broadcast the day prior, and I actually talk about 1 or 2 elements for a total of 60 seconds. After each element, I asked people to put it in the chat. I said, element number 1, here it is. Give a thumbs up, give a 10 for those who agree, for those who find it interesting, and I'll continue right away. No waiting for reaction, move on instantly. Chat has plus signs, 10s, 20s flying. Already discussing second element, asking how to apply it effectively. For those interested, put emojis, go ahead. And here come the numbers again, 2s, 10s, emojis. Throughout live broadcast, I have active chat. Active chat increases engagement. So I explain each element and people share reactions and I move on right away. Almost non-stop, people are always writing something in the chat. And Instagram algorithms notice that there is always activity in my chat, in my live broadcast. People continue writing non-stop despite the initial count of just 20 people. He observes the genuine interest of people in this live broadcast. Thanks to algorithms, he shows my live broadcast to more and more viewers, and the number of viewers keeps increasing steadily. I watch and think, wow, great, people are interested. The number of viewers is increasing. The energy and drive are growing. And in general, there are only continuous benefits here. A simple technique, ensure to take it on board, ensure to utilize it. But consider what we have also mentioned several times, sincerity. Without sincerity, there is no trust. Attention, the era of beautiful pictures and successful success has long passed. The trend is towards sincerity. We said that sincerity is an untrainable thing. It's something we switch on as a kind of mode within ourselves. How to broadcast it? First, give yourself the right to make mistakes. We've covered this mindset, I remind you once again. You are not a robot, you are a living person, you have the right to make mistakes. Let's get rid of perfectionism. It's better to have something done than perfect but not completed. Let this phrase be your main motivation. Step out. Make yourself known, utilize all the tools, now you have everything. Off you go, take action.